Well,
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to talk about ORCA Business Programs. My name is Anna, and I'm the Education and Outreach Specialist for Commute Seattle. Joining me behind the scenes is Armando, ready to answer any questions that you have. Without further ado, let's get into it. So today we're going to cover who Commute Seattle is and how we can help you navigate transportation benefits. We'll discuss what an ORCA card is before getting into ORCA Business Passport, the incentive for new customers, ORCA Business Choice, and Seattle's Commuter Benefits Ordinance and pre-tax savings. Then we'll celebrate some transit openings and finally some next steps for you. Throughout this presentation, we'll be using the Zoom Q&A feature as we go through the presentation. So if you have any questions, please make sure to put those in that Q&A feature. And we'll get to them at the end of this presentation. So before we dive into providing how to provide transit benefits through the ORCA business programs, let me quick introduce you to Commute Seattle for those of you who don't know us. Commute Seattle is a nonprofit that serves over 200,000 workers citywide. Through our partnership with large and small employers, properties, destinations, and public agencies and community organizations, we help people shift into sustainable transportation options and comply with state and city regulations, which include the Washington Commute Trip Reduction Law and Seattle's Commuter Benefit Ordinance. Commute Seattle's mission is to make it easy for everyone across the Puget Sound to walk, roll, or ride to Seattle's opportunities. We envision a region where affordable and sustainable options are the best way for everyone to connect to the important places in their lives. How we work. So we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We are also a transportation management association, which means that we connect people, businesses, and properties to affordable and sustainable transportation options, all with the goal of reducing the number of people that drive alone to work. We work at the intersection of public and private sectors. You can see some of our public partners on the slide. And we also provide outreach and free one-on-one support to businesses who are interested in ORCA business benefits through our partnership with King County Metro. So before we dive into ORCA business programs, let's get rooted in what an ORCA card is. An ORCA card is a regional transit card that works across 9 different transit agencies and across 4 different counties: Snohomish, Pierce, King, and Kitsap. It's a really incredible partnership that allows riders to seamlessly transfer between these different agencies and is really specific to the Puget Sound. That ORCA card is going to be accepted across any of these different types of buses. If you see one of those, you can use your ORCA card to get on it. It also works on our monorail, our fast ferry, or our monorail, the light rail, the monorail, that's all of our rail options, and the sounder. And then on some ferries, which include the fast ferry, the water taxi, and the Washington State ferries. So what are ORCA business programs? ORCA business programs provide your employees access to the Puget Sound region's growing public transportation system for work trips and for life trips. It is a way for employers to put pre-tax and employer funds onto ORCA cards for their employees to use on transit. This is available to all employers, and under this umbrella, there are 2 distinct programs that we're going to talk about today. One is Passport, and the other is ORCA Business Choice. The rest of this presentation will focus on helping you answer the question, which program is right for you? So the first is going to be ORCA Business Passport. It is an all-inclusive and unlimited use pass. It includes all forms of transit in the region except for the Washington State ferries. So it includes the bus, the light rail, the monorail, the sounder train, the streetcar, the water taxi, fast ferry. It also comes at really highly cost-effective rates. We'll talk about pricing a little bit later, but it comes at really great deals. 100% covered is van pool and home free guarantee. Van pool is a program that allows you to essentially carpool using a King County Metro van. So instead of driving your own car or paying for gas yourself, you can use a King County Metro vehicle to carpool with people to your workplace. Home free guarantee is a really great transit riders program that allows you to get a taxi ride home for free. If something comes up, like your kid is sick or you need to get home after an unexpectedly late shift, it can really, provide a sense of comfort to those who are taking transit. It is also a annual contract program, so you only think about it once a year, and then you have the rest of those 12 months to enjoy the program before it comes up for renewal. So let's get into the benefits of ORCA Passport. Again, we think this is a really great program. The first thing, it's a lifestyle benefit. It is a great quality of life benefit. It allows you to get around on the weekends, after work, but also to work. It's great for recruitment and retention, and it supports employees' well-being by relieving the financial burden and stress of driving. We know that it's a benefit that employees want. We hear again and again that this is what employees want. And it really does reduce the amount of money that they're spending on transit. It also helps businesses to meet their sustainability goals. A lot of businesses have goals around decreasing their carbon footprint, and this does exactly that. It's also easy to administer. You can essentially set it and forget it, as we say. So you can set it up once at the beginning of your contract. It covers everyone's commute. So if they are changing where they're moving from or commuting from, you don't really have to do anything on your end. They already have access to all the transit. It also comes at very cost-effective bulk pricing. So again, we'll talk about pricing in just a minute, but it does come at good prices. And then it also complies with our Seattle Commuter Benefits Ordinance, which we will talk about again a little later. So I want to introduce you to John on the right here. John takes the light rail from Linwood to downtown Seattle every day to get to his office. He spends around $1,500 annually on his commute. And for John, this is kind of a lot. So he asks his employer to look into ORCA Passport. His employer looks into it, says, yep, we can do this. It's a great option. And this reduces his cost to $0. It's a huge, huge benefit to John. And his employer is only paying about $400 to cover his full commute for the entire year. So talking about pricing. So Passport requires you to cover all benefits eligible employees. So if you have 20 employees and all of them are benefits eligible, you have to buy 20 passes, regardless of whether they're going to use it or not. But we find that most people do end up using the pass in some form, whether it's on the weekends to get to the airport or a Mariners game, not just to get to and from work. There's also a 5 pass minimum. Notice I said pass. We do have a lot of businesses that work with us where they have 4 employees, maybe even 3, and this program still makes the most sense for them just because of the really great deals that come with this program. The pricing is based on your business location. So it's not based on where people are commuting from, it is based on where your business is located. So if your business is located downtown where there's lots and lots of access to transit, you are going to have a more expensive pass. The high end of that is around $400 per person per your first year. And if you are located in a more or less transit dense area, you would have a slightly cheaper pass looking around $300 per person per year. We know this is really expensive for businesses or can be. It's an expensive time to have a business. And so there are a few ways to make this program cheaper for you. The first is going to be the new customer incentive, which allows you in exchange for a survey to have about, 35% up to $7,000 off your program. This program continues in your second year with about 25% reduction in cost and in your third year with 15% reduction in cost. Another way you can reduce your cost is to cost share with your employees. This essentially allows your employees to pay up to 50% of the cost of Passport. So again, if your Passport cost is $400, you could ask your employees to pay $200 throughout the course of the year to reimburse you for their pass. This generally ends up being between $3 and $7 per paycheck, and that is pre-tax funds. So again, it's pretty cheap for employees. I think you can compare that to, the cost of a round trip on transit, which is about $6 generally, depending on what kind of transit they're taking. So it's similar to the cost of paying one transit trip per paycheck if you do end up sharing with your employees. And employees can use their pre-tax income for that. Just want to make sure I say that. All right, now leaving ORCA Passport behind, we are going to move on to ORCA Choice. So what is ORCA Business Choice? It is a flexible month-to-month program that allows your employees to add funds either through ePurse or a Puget Pass. So an ePurse is kind of like a debit card that allows you to add funds, let's say $20 a month, to an ORCA card for your employees to use on transit. A Puget Pass is more like a typical bus pass where you can add a pass to your ORCA card and then use it as many times as you need throughout the month. This, for like access to just bus and light rail, that's going to cost you about $108 a month, so about $1,500 throughout the entire year per person. There's no minimum pass requirement or annual commitment for this program, so if you have 20 employees and just one person wants to use this pass, you can buy it for just one person. And you do not have to do it for the entire year. If the employee is paying their own funds, it is totally up to them when they want to add this pass or take it away. So it does increase that admin burden. But again, it allows for more flexibility with the program. This program also allows for pre-tax savings. Again, if your employees want to add their own funds to this pass, they can do that with pre-tax income. And then this is a great option to comply with Seattle's commuter benefits ordinance, which we'll talk about in a second. So I want to give you an example of how ORCA Business Choice pricing works because there are a few different ways to administer it, like I said. So we're back to talking about John, right? He is commuting to downtown Seattle from Linwood every day. It costs him about $1,500 out of pocket. The first example of using ORCA Choice is John asks his company for ORCA benefits, and they say, oh, we're a little tight on money right now, but we can offer you a way to use your own income to pay for your transit pass, which reduces, and you can do this so pre-tax. Generally, people save, about 20% on transit using this method. And so John's yearly commuting costs go from $1,500 to about $1,100, which is really great for John. That saves him some money. His company doesn't pay anything but some admin time. It's kind of a win-win for everyone. Another way to administer this benefit is John's company says, yeah, we would love to help you with your commute. We can offer $500 or $50 a month towards your commute. John says, that's really great, thank you. And he says, I'm going to cover the rest of my commute with some pre-tax savings as well. So with his company paying $50 a month and his pre-tax savings, his yearly commute costs go down to about $700, which is huge. Again, they're cut in half. And maybe his company says, we would love to pay for your entire bus pass or your light rail pass. John's really grateful for that. They pay about $1,500 out of for John to have that pass. Again, the same money that he would be paying, but now the company is paying for it, and his yearly commuting costs go to zero. So those are some of the different ways that you can administer choice. I've been mentioning pre-tax savings a lot, and these are the savings that come from using your pre-tax income to pay for transit. Commuter benefits are a federal fringe benefit, which means that you can offer up to $340 a month tax-free for qualifying commute expenses, either as a pre-tax paycheck deduction or as an employer-provided subsidy. And employees can save up to 30% on a commuting costs, and businesses can save up to 8% on VICA costs. So Seattle's commuter benefit ordinance. In 2020, January 2020, great time for it, the city of Seattle passed a law to encourage transit use and promote air quality, called the Commuter Benefits Ordinance. It essentially says that companies with 20 or more employees worldwide must offer their employees the opportunity to pay for their transit expenses using their own pre-tax income. So this does not say that companies have to provide or pay for their employees to commute on transit. It just says that they have to allow for their employees to use their pre-tax dollars for transit. Please note that this law does not apply to nonprofits or government agencies, but both ORCA programs, ORCA Choice and ORCA Passport, are great ways to be in compliance with this law. There's also ways to do this through a third-party vendor. All right, so throughout this presentation, we've been talking about how can you pick the right program for you. So I just want to give you a quick overview of these two programs once again. So remember, ORCA Passport is that all-inclusive, unlimited transit travel ORCA card. Has everything. It comes with an annual contract, so it is really easy to administer. It covers everyone's commute, and you only have to set it up one time. To make that cheaper, we have the new customer incentive, and you can also cost share with your employees using pre-tax savings. It is compliant with the Commuter Benefits Ordinance, and the pricing comes in around $300 to $400 per employee for the first year. Over on our ORCA Choice side, this is our flexible month-to-month program that is tailored to each employee. Comes with a little bit more admin costs, but can have savings as well. There's no business contribution minimum at all, so again, it could cost your company nothing, just some admin time. And employees can cost share and use pre-tax savings with this program as well. It is also Commuter Benefits Ordinance compliant. This can cost you anywhere from $0 to $220, $2,200 per employee per year. So I'm sure you'll be taking some time to think over these programs, and as you do so, I want to give you some information that might help in your decision making. So the first is that the cost of living and gas in Seattle is increasing. We are seeing prices go up and people want to make more budget conscious decisions. We also know that there's a decreasing rate of car ownership in Seattle, and more people are finding other ways to get to work than driving, maybe even more than you'd expect. We often have folks that survey their employees about how they get to work, and they're often surprised by how many people that they thought were driving were not driving to work. There's also some construction impacts happening in Seattle in 2026 and 2027. We have Revive I-5, which is the building construction along I-5 on the Ship Canal Bridge that will impact traffic through 2027 and possibly beyond. And then we have the FIFA World Cup coming to town this summer of 2026 that will also have some traffic impacts. On the other side of that, the exciting side of that, we have new transit coming this year. We had the Federal Way Link extension open in the fall, which was really great. And then we also had more recently the Link Light Rail Line 2 opening. And this has allowed people to connect from Bellevue to Seattle to Redmond, and really around the Puget Sound, which has increased the value of your ORCA card. We also have more rapid rides planned for the future and other really rapid transit. So we're excited about those programs. Again, all of these additions make your ORCA card more valuable. So what's next? After this webinar, you will receive a webinar recording, a draft estimate for providing ORCA Business Passport for your employees in your work site, and we'll send you a link to schedule a one-on-one call with us to answer some of your questions. I know that these programs can be complicated, maybe even daunting, and we're really here to help you figure out which program is right for you and walk you through those steps about how to get started. In the meantime, we recommend that you identify what your budget is for commuter benefits and kind of figure out how this might work within your abilities. I also recommend surveying your employees, whether formally or informally, if you're unsure of how they commute to work. That can really help us make a more informed decision about what program is right for you. And so just sending out a quick email and say, how are you getting to work? Are you driving? Are you taking transit? That would really help us work together to be able to pick the right program for you. And finally, you can either reply to the email that we send you or send us an email at orca@commuteseattle.com with any questions you have about these programs. If you have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the Q&A feature. And thank you so much for attending. I appreciate it. Have a good day.